to you. Okay, recording has started. All righty. Okay, so I have a little frog in my throat, so we'll get through it. If I cough a little bit, excuse me. You guys are new to Revise, right? I think your site is in enabling right now.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is totally separate from the website. So once you get your website, you're going to have the opportunity to add users and those that are going to edit it. This is totally separate. This could be a totally different set of users. They could have different logins. So we don't want them to confuse and sit and try and log in one place and, well, it's not working. I know that's my login. They could be separate login IDs. They could be separate passwords. They could be totally separate users. So just want to make that clear. This ticket right here, I think Louise and well, Brian and Brenda all have access to the portal. But this training request ticket that I sent, this URL right here, this is the one that you're going to share with everybody. They're going to use that URL. They're going to click on it. Then they're going to enter their username, which will always be their email address. So if they say for this app, if I forgot my username, it's your email address. So it'll be use their email address and then their password, and then they're going to be able to log into the app. So just want to be sure you know where to find that. Alrighty, so looks like somebody's been in here adding some people. So you won't see super users. Those are, I'm logged in as a revised super user. So you're seeing all those, but you'll just see yours. Let me just go to create users. Well, I'm going to go to edit because it's the same view as create users. So Louise, okay. So who's been doing this, Louise or?
We haven't added anybody as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, we added. Oh, I know what it is. Okay.
Part of your team?
I did. Yeah. So I remember now. So we typically, when we set this up, we add one user. And then when I do the training, we add everybody else, or show you how to add everybody else. But I think I'd gotten the request to add others. So I just went ahead and added them. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I remember now. Okay. Okay. So adding a user and editing a user is this same view. So you'll put their first and their last name. Now, when it comes to the roles, again, you won't see super user. That's not going to be an option for you. You'll see 4 options for roles. And because I didn't know, who was going to be in what role, I just put all of those that you asked me to add as admins. We can change that. So admins have the rights to see everything. They can see every form. They can create forms. They see everything. A department admin would be able to see everything within a department that they're assigned to. And I'll show you how you assign to a department. But if somebody, you want them to just see the forms in HR, then you assign them to that department and they can only see those forms and they can only create forms for that department. And then a user, again, you would assign to a specific department. They can respond to forms, but they cannot create any forms. And then if somebody is a guest, they're assigned to a department, but they can only view information. They can't respond to any forms. They can't create any. They can just look at content. Any questions about those 4 different roles?
Nope.
Okay, do we want to leave
Nope.
Louise as an admin?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so we got her email, which again, that's going to be the login ID or username that it asks for when you go to log in. Password, it's already been set up. I think I gave you a temporary one, but you can always come in here back under edit and then, change your password because I think I made them all the same for right now. So anybody we want to change, we've got Brenda, Louise, Brian and Anna, all admins. Are we good or should we change somebody?
For now, we can all be admins, and if needed in the future, we can tweak this. But for now, this is just the 4 of us, and we can all be admins.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So this is how I suggest you populate the app kind of from right to left. So you want to add all your users first, and then you want to create your departments, and then you want to create your forms that live in the departments, and Bookables is separate that we'll go over. So any questions about the users or the roles?
No, but I
No.
will let you know that I did play around with this. So you will see a department in there and a form. So I did go ahead and did a couple of things. So just either disregard that, or if you want to go over that, that's fine by me. But just to let you know that I did do that.
Okay, let me see. This is brilliant. I had never thought about this. This is brilliant. This is for internal website changes?
Correct. So I do
That
have a
is
couple
brilliant.
questions. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do your presentation and, take your time, do whatever you want. And I do have a couple of questions at the end of some of
Okay.
my experiences. I was using the system and I was just kind of playing around with it. So hopefully we can get an answer to those.
Oh, but that is brilliant. I'm going to use that because, you think of this so much as, as a municipality, right? You put your form on the site and it's for the people that come to your site. But to use something like this internally for website changes, that's brilliant. I'm going to steal your idea for clients.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, that's a really good
like it.
idea.
I'll let you do that.
All right. Okay, so we got your web team is your department, so perfect. So create department and edit is the same view. So I'm just gonna click on edit here. So my mouse is not working. Okay, so you obviously name your department, you've named it. Now the email from, you can definitely use this address if that's what you want. We suggest every time you create a new department that you use no reply revise.com. And the reason is, I mean, it's totally up to you, but the reason is when we get complaints that emails aren't going through, 99% of the time, it's something on your end. It's a firewall, it's a spam filter, it's some kind of blockage on your end that your then IT people have to figure out what to do. So, I mean, it's totally up to you if you want me to change it or not.
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead and change it, whatever works best.
Okay, so every time you create a department, just use this, no reply revise.com for your from address. And that'll cut down on any issues. Okay, so all of your users are listed here on the left. So if you don't see, oh, so Brenda was obviously over here before, right?
Yeah.
So if
So
you
I only
don't
put
see
myself
some,
in there because as I was playing around, I didn't want to bombard everybody with anything potentially going out as I was playing. So I just put myself in there.
okay, perfect. Okay, so if you don't see somebody here on the left, when you're creating a department or editing a department, it's because they're not a user yet. So that's why I say add all your users first so that they'll show up here. So you don't see somebody here, okay, I got to go back to users, add them as a user, and then they're going to show up here. And then obviously when you click their name, you found out it pops them over to the right. So that's how you assign somebody to a department. So technically all four of you are admins. So I don't need to assign you to any departments because you already have rights to see everything. But the other reason you might want to assign an admin to a department is if you want them to be part of the escalation policy. So I'm going to explain that more in detail in a minute. But really all that is if you want somebody to get an email every time there's a new submission or a form, website change form in this or any form in this web team department. So if you want somebody to get an email saying, hey, there's been a new submission, the email is very vague. It doesn't have the form in it. That would be a violation of privacy and, security and all of that. It's ultimately a link. You click on the link, you log into this app, and then you can view the form. So whoever you want to be able to get those emails, and again, it's totally optional. You can just use the link here periodically and log into the app and you'll see what's come in, and I'll show you that in a minute too. But if you do want somebody to be part of the escalation policy, then you can move them over or if you're assigning them to a department because they're not an admin.
Gotcha.
So if you don't want to get those emails on Saturday or Christmas Day or 12 midnight when they're actually submitted, you can choose to skip those times and then the email will actually come the following business day. If you do want to skip holidays, once you update the department, you have to do one more step and go to holidays. And then you have to tell the system what holidays you want to skip. So say, okay, I don't want to get it on Christmas Day for the next 2 years. So kind of a bummer, but you do have to do it annually and you do have to do it per department. If you want to do it, it's totally optional though.
Gotcha.
Okay, so if you can ignore those emails and not let it ruin your day, then you don't need to do it. Okay, so that is the holidays and setting up. Any questions on how to set up the department?
Nope.
Okay. So here's the policy. So because we moved Brenda from that left box to the right box, now she's showing up here. If there's nobody here, or if there's somebody, you're looking for Louise and she's not here, at this point it's one of two things. one, either they're not a user yet, so you've got to add them as a user, or two, you haven't moved them from that left box to the right box within that department. So we did move Brenda, so now we can drag her name over here. And we're just by doing this and updating the policy down here, that's automatically telling the system every time there's a new submission for a form that lives in this department, Brenda's going to get this email saying there's been a new submission. Now, if
Got
we had Louise's name here also, we could drag her under Brenda and say 8 hours after Brenda gets it, then Louise is going to get it. Or maybe we want her to get it right away, so we could say 2 minutes after Brenda gets it, then Louise is going to get the same, email. Just keep in mind, once Brenda takes care of the email, in other words, she changes the status to completed or acknowledged and changes the status, which I'll show you where you do that, it'll stop the escalation policy. It won't go to the second, third, fourth person, whatever.
Okay.
So, and then this time is for the next person. So if this was Louise's time here is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So any questions about that?
So I'm assuming that the escalation policy is for, a form has been submitted, it's been 48 hours, no one's touched it, so it then escalates to the next person to say, hey, the person that this form is assigned to has not done anything with it, please take your time to go in and acknowledge it, or something like that.
Right. So if this was 8 hours and Brenda didn't do anything about it, then 8 hours later, Louise is going to get it because nothing's been done to it.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. But you're also going to be able to log into the app at any time and view what's in there, and you'll see the status of everything. So this really is optional. It's just an alert.
Right.
If you want to get those emails saying there's been a new submission, but it's, it's not the end of, means to finding out what's come in.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave that like that for now, and I'll click update policy. So again, you create 5 different departments, then they're going to have 5 different escalation policies.
Right.
They all separate. Okay. All right, so your emails, these are all set up already by Revise. You don't have to do anything with these right now. Just know that the system works and it's all automated. It's based on triggers. So for example, somebody fills out that web change form or dog license application that's on your site. That's considered a new submission from the public. And when when they click submit, that's going to trigger this message back to them in real time. Your submission was successfully received. So and you can change this. So I can go to edit here and I can change this. You only want to change the body of the email. Don't touch anything in the brackets. This is telling the system who to address it to, how to address it, what email, all of that. Don't change any of this, but you can change the message. Just keep in mind that this same message is going out to all the forms in that department. It's department specific. So if there's 5 forms that live in the HR department, all 5 of those forms are getting the same message. So you don't want to say, thank you for submitting your dog license application when there's other forms in this department that aren't dog license applications. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so just know you can change it, but don't touch anything in the brackets, and then you would just update email. So if there's a internal department change or, updated from the public or internally, it's updated between, Brenda and Louise, all of these messages are going out.
Mhm.
And I would just play with them the way they are, right now and not worry about changing them.
Yep.
Now there are a few here under the trigger column that say none. So in other words, there's no action that can be taken that's going to trigger these emails to go out, but they are here available to pick from a drop-down list of available emails when you respond to a form, which this will make sense in a minute. But when you say it's an employment application, and instead of typing all that information that they've been accepted for the position, this is what your next steps are. Instead of doing all that, you can just pick this email with the title from a drop-down list and click, submit.
Right.
And again, these can be edited. You only want to change the body of the email, like these 3 brackets here, this form title, these 3. You don't want to touch those. You don't want to touch anything up here. But you can change everything else with the exception of these 3. And,
Cool.
have it say what you want. And of course, your subject line. Don't touch form title, but you can change your subject line and then update email. Any questions?
No, I think that for the most part, the only thing that we would use here is basically the confirmation to the user that's submitting the form to say, hey, your submission has went through. We will get back to you as soon as possible. We
Mhm.
don't really utilize any of the other circumstances because for job postings, we use our, HR uses their own system that they communicate with the, with this person that's applying, with the applicant back and forth. So we really wouldn't need any of the extra ones. So the only one I can see being useful is the first one.
Okay,
So for the rest, it can just stay like that.
okay, that's good. But don't delete them, just so you know. I mean, you could potentially delete them, but there may be an instance where it's needed, so I would just work with it the way it is, but yeah, that's fine. Okay, I have had clients delete them, that's why I mentioned that. Okay, so
Oh.
every department is set up exactly like this. If you do have that one, weird form that just needs, it does need to have a different response. Maybe you need to link something in the response and send them somewhere else, or maybe you need, you just need a different response. Then you would just create a new department and, call it, web team dash name of the form or whatever, so that it can have its own automated response and it can have a different escalation policy and go to somebody else.
Gotcha.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to our revised site because it's populated with some information and it's easier for me to use this. So again, whether you use the escalation policy and get that email alert or not, you can just periodically click on this link and you'll log into the app. You can go to reports and then all submitted forms, and you will see everything that's come in real time, with the most recent on top. So these are actually real revised questionnaires that we use this for. So let me find something else. Looking for my dog license application. Where are you? Oh my. Okay. Might be an
Your
easier way to find
questionnaire is
this.
booming.
Huh?
I said your questionnaire is booming. They
I
must like
know. We do a lot of these. Where is my, okay, I'm gonna find it a
is.
different way.
There it is. It was the very last one.
Oh, there's one. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Here's a dog license application that's come in. So we'll just pretend like it was more recent. Okay, so these can be printed. You can save them as a PDF. You can't change any of this information. This is what the submitter filled out. This is not editable. As you can see, everything they filled out. If there was an attachment here, say we asked for the their recent rabies vaccination certificate, it would say attachment and it would have a link to the PDF right here. So this is what they filled out. We can see everything we need, we got everything we need. As this form goes back and forth, either internally or externally, you'll start to see a thread of history here. So everything that's happened to the form, you'll see that thread. It'll tell you whether this was private, meaning internal, or whether it was public, meaning it went back to the submitter. And here's where you respond. So we've got our dog license application. So I can say, okay, I'm marking this complete. I'm going to message the person who submitted it. And I'm going to say, thank you. Here is your 2024 dog license. I can attach it right here. Now, if I'm sending this form, this message back to the submitter, the person who submitted the form, you want to check make post public. It doesn't send it to the whole world. It doesn't put it on your website, but it's telling the system, send this back to the person who sent this message. If this is just internal, between Louise and Brenda, and you're just, please take care of this, then don't check this and click submit. So check it to send it back to the submitter. Don't check it if it's internal. And then if this was that employment application we were talking about, and they've been accepted for the position, instead of typing all that information out and what your next steps are, this is where you'd pick that email from a drop-down list of emails. So you could pick that application accepted email, just click it and then click submit and not have to type it all out.
Yeah.
You can reassign, you can change departments, but this is where you update. And then again, if this was a private message, internal, it would show the history after I did it private. or if it went back to the submitter, it would say public.
Gotcha.
And also you can, I can view these in a CSV if I need to. So I've got 37 dog license applications here. I can export as a CSV file if I need to look at it in, you know, that Excel format. I can filter these reports many ways. I can say, okay, I only want to see dog license applications that are open, or maybe just ones that are signed to me or by date, or all these different criteria for filtering. Now, once these are deleted, they're gone forever, so we can't get them back. So be careful what you delete. If you do want to periodically clean this up, I would maybe suggest, you know, printing them or saving them as PDFs, whatever your procedure is before you delete anything. Any questions on the reporting or filtering or responding to the forms?
Nope.
I'm good.
All righty, I'm going to go back to you and show you how to create one. And we'll look at your other one. Okay, so I'm just going to, oop, what happened? I'm going to go to forms. Oh, somehow never got to Pasco. My mouse is not working. When I click it, I got to get a new mouse. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to form. I'm going to create a new form. I'm just going to call it test. You assign what department do you want the form to live in. We only have one choice. Now, we haven't gotten to the Bookables yet, but if this form was tied to the Bookables, in other words, what are you going to use the reservation piece for?
So right now, there is a department, which I believe is Human Services, who had requested a calendar for ideally, and this is something that we cannot do, and this is why we ended up with a calendar. We would have a calendar. People would be able to choose the date, let's say November 5th at 2 p.m. They would say, hey, I would like to book this date for this reason. The person would then get a notification and say, okay, yeah, we have a spot for that day. You've been approved. It's on the calendar. Everybody knows that you're booked and that spot is unavailable for anybody else. Because we can't do that on our current website, we had to create a calendar. The person has to communicate via email, and then the person that fulfills the calendar, like actually adds the event to the calendar, only does it to let the other clients know that that spot has been booked. So
okay, and what is it for again? The booking?
It's like they call it like collaboration station calendar. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Like a meeting or something?
They have like different vendors that come out and, will, I guess, talk to individuals and stuff like that. So if they want somebody to come out like at noon, on a Friday from noon to 1, they want that to be able to be, to be able to book that without having to go via a bunch of emails back and forth with the staff.
Okay, so it's literally just person to person scheduling. It's not for park reservations or conference rooms or anything.
Oh, simple.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So if this form, if we were creating a form for that right now for them to request this meeting, then it would be tied to a bookable. So we would say yes. But this test is not, and your web test is not. So if this was a dog license application, has nothing to do with Bookables, right? So that's where you say yes or no. A completion URL, if you want to redirect them someplace on the site when they're finished, once they hit submit on the form, you can put that URL right here, but totally optional. You don't need a completion message. You already have a automated reply. This is just another message that would come up. It actually comes up at the top of the screen in like a white bar. It's missed. I miss it all the time when you don't see it. So I wouldn't even use it. I would just use your automated response and leave this blank. I would use CAPTCHA. It says I'm not a robot. It helps cut down on spam, and then create your form. So you'll notice my form is inactive and your form is active, right? So your form I can literally click on and I could actually fill it out to test it out right now. Until you're 100% sure that your forms are ready, I would encourage you to leave them inactive, because as you can see, once it becomes active, now this link and embed button becomes available. And you find that under properties. So when I am ready to make this form active, I would change it to active, and then it would have this link and embed. And I know you haven't had training yet, but when not sure Allison or Denise is going to do training for you, one of them. Once you have training, this will make a little bit more sense. But they're going to show you how to create a page and create links. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. You will literally just left click link and it's going to copy it to your clipboard. You're going to go over to your site. You're going to create your page and or your link, and then you're going to right click paste. And that way, when you click on the link, whether it's inside of a page, like to fill out a dog license application, click here, and you click on here and you want it to open up to the form, or whether it's a page by itself that opens up to a form, either way, it'll open up to this form. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It'll
Yep.
make a lot more sense once you have training. But just know, once you get ready to link these on your site, then, you know, you can call me. My direct number's right here on this ticket. You can call me anytime if you have questions. Embedding it puts it inside the page. It's not quite as clean on some devices. It's a little bit better to link because it brings them back here to where the form was created. They don't know that, but you can do either one. But this is how you get the form onto the site.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna leave, definitely want to make this inactive. This is a test. So I'm gonna make it inactive. So now there's nobody, you know, no chance of somebody linking or embedded it by mistake. Now, if this was an employment application and maybe had another one real similar, once you create one, you can just click copy and okay. And then it creates a duplicate real easily, and you can just go back under properties, you know, and rename it application number 2. And then update it, go under build, make a few changes, and you've got a duplicate real easily.
Cool.
Okay, so we're gonna go under build. Now, the first thing you do, and you did it perfect on the other form, is you pull over this text box. And the difference between this text box under elements and these two text fields is this one has all these icons. So you know, anytime you see that this is an area that you type in as the creator of the form. The submitter's not going to be able to type in this box. And you know it because it's got all of these icons, this toolbar. So you can link here if you need to put a link. You can add a picture, image, you know, your logo, bullets. So any place on the form it needs a title or instructions or, you know, image or anything like that added, this is the box you want to use, this text box under elements. So then you just want to pull in a bunch of rows. So your rows are basically your containers for these fields. So I'm going to say we want the date. I'm going to pull in a couple blank text fields. We want phone, email. Okay. So because I pulled in 2 here, it splits the row in half. And because I pulled 3 in here, it splits it in thirds. You don't want to do probably more than 4 or 5, you know, unless it's really short information that you're asking for, it'll get too crowded and it'll probably give you an alert. But you can make this wider. If I want to make this a little bit wider, I can do that. Now, real important. These fields on the left that are specific, date, email, file, phone, they have to be used for those functions. You can't take a text field and call it email and then expect the system to use this as the email. So email, it has to say email field. Email is email. Phone is phone. Date is date. File is file. If you need them to upload 2 files, then you need 2 of these. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to label this first name. And I'm going to label this one last name. So also, this is real important for the whole system to work. And for it to know how to address somebody like Dear John Doe instead of Dear Doe, and what email to send it to. There's 3 fields that need to be made required and primary. And that's first name, last name, and email. So you want first name and last name separate. You don't want it to say full name. You want first name, and then you make it required. And you tell the system, this is the primary first name I want you to use. And then last name, this is required, puts that little red asterisk there. The person can't submit the form, you know, unless they fill out that field. And then this is the primary last name I want you to use. And then even though I might have 3 different email addresses I'm asking for on the phone, on the form, this one is required and this is the one I want you to use, primary email. So first name, last name, email have to all be made required and primary. Alrighty, so and be careful what you make required. You don't necessarily want to make like a fax number required field. Not everybody has one, and some people don't know just to put something in there so that the form will be submitted, you know, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so the difference between checkbox, got date, email, file, radio, and the select. So the difference between these three, the radio button is basically a yes or no. So are you a US citizen is employment application? And you have two options, yes, I am, or no. You know what gender is your dog, male, female. So it's a yes or no, either or type of button. The select option is gives you multiple options, but you can only pick one. So maybe this is an employment application and your label is, you know, what position are you applying for? And you have all the positions listed here. You want to limit them to just pick one. And then the checkbox, lots of options, but they can pick more than one. So maybe you want to know what all the different skills are. You've got all the different skills listed here. And so you want to give them the option to check more than one box. So checkbox, lots of options, but they can pick more than one. Select, lots of options. They were restricted to only pick one. And then the radio is a yes or no, either or. And then the text area, the only time you need to use the text area is if you need them to type a lot of information. So maybe you want them to, you know, tell me more about your previous employer or something, or about yourself. You can kind of estimate how many rows you think they might need to type. If they go over that, don't worry. It'll just scroll here on the right. And of course, all of these have a place for help text. You can, you know, put a little help text in there. You can use this as a signature. You can call a text field signature, and then maybe make it required, and then put some help text, you know, by typing your name here, you're agreeing that to the above terms and conditions, or everything here is correct, or, you know, whatever applies. And this is a legal binding e-signature. And then you can just preview your form and then save it or go back to edit. You can rearrange these rows very easily, just drag and drop. You can duplicate it very easily, delete it, duplicate the different, you know, fields in here. Any questions about creating the form?
Yes, ma'am. So I have a question about conditions, and I'll give you an example. If you scroll down to the radio button you just created, I'm going to change that question to say, has your supervisor approved this content, for example? And I have a yes or no question. If they select yes, am I able to then pop a text field that allows them to enter the supervisor's name? Yes or no?
It would have to just be another field. If you answered yes to the above question, or, you know, question on the left, please enter supervisor's, you know, field
So there
name.
isn't a way to tie conditions to specific options.
Not like automated, no.
So that's, I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not, but I definitely know that a lot of our forms, they do use that. Because depending on certain choices that you have to make as you're going through a form, you have to provide certain information, and that text field or that box that requires you to enter that will come up depending on what you've selected. I know that, I know, for example, we on our web form, we use that. It's not imperative because this is only an internal form, but I know that our utilities department, for example, because they provide a variety of services like connecting your water utilities, you know, disconnecting your account or transferring. They have certain conditions that, depending on what choices you make, you may have to attach a file, or you may have to write the name of the company or your ID, who knows, right? I don't know exactly their options. So that's what my question was about. Is there a way to do that? I didn't think so because I didn't find it, but perhaps I didn't know how to do that.
And this may or may not, I mean, I understand what you're saying. This may or may not work as a workaround, but you may want to, so your whole thing is this, the second option, okay, they click yes, and now you need them to do this. But maybe they clicked no and you don't need them to do that.
Correct, nothing
And you
happened.
can't necessarily make it required because they might not need to do it, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I would probably make it required, the second, okay, yes or no, and they answered yes. If you answered yes, give us the name of the supervisor. Or the other option is does not apply to me. So you can still make it required, and then they just check does not apply.
So I guess the workaround for that is you would have to make that additional field, depending on what your choice was, visible, and then just make it very clear that do not do this unless, but what will happen is that people will most likely fill it out without
Mhm.
questioning or reading, because people don't read. And then we'll have messages from our utilities department saying, hey, people are using this text field when they're not supposed to. Can we do something about it? So I'm just playing
Mhm.
devil's advocate, and I'm already anticipating their questions, so that's why I'm asking. So
Right.
again, if it's something that cannot be done, and it cannot be done, and we have to work around it, and it is what it is, right? But I just wanted to make sure that I was triple checking that.
Right, yeah,
How can I make
you're not
it
missing,
easier for everybody?
anything. The only other thing is somehow in the reply, when you're on the form and you go to the bottom and you reply to them, somehow, you have to do another step there, but, you get what you need, but yeah. I'm sure I've gotten this several times, so hopefully in the next iteration of this, maybe they'll have something like that, but right now, yeah, you just kind of have to find a workaround.
Okay. So thank you for answering that. My
Mhm.
other question is notifications. I know you sort of went over that a little bit. When I was playing with this form, and I was probably doing it completely wrong, I did not receive a notification that I had submitted the form, or that I myself was assigned the form for completion, or for to just complete the task. How do I ensure that that happens?
Okay, so you didn't get it as the recipient because there was nobody in the escalation policy at that time.
Okay.
We just set that up, right? There was nobody in there yet.
That is tied with how you receive a notification when something is submitted.
Yes.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So
Okay.
now when you fill it out, so if you put like your personal email address here, you
Right.
should get automated response that they received it. And
Okay.
then whoever's in the escalation policy should also get an email
Oh, okay. Awesome.
because we set that up, right?
So
Yeah, Brenda should get an email.
while we're here, could we please add Brian to this as well? So that way this is set up, and if I ever have any questions on how to set anybody else's, I can always refer to this and just know, okay, this is what we did.
Yeah, so I'm gonna click
Brian,
his name and move him over
Yeah.
here, right? Update the department. Now I'm gonna go to policy. He'll be there. Is that what you wanted?
yes. So
Okay.
basically,
How long after?
So basically what we want is to receive a notification as soon as somebody submits it. We need to know as soon as something new comes in that we have to go in and fulfill that request.
Okay, you are automatically gonna get it in real time. It doesn't matter what you put here. If you
Okay,
put 8 hours here, it doesn't matter. The first person is automatically getting it in real time. This time is for the second person.
so him and I are the primary person regardless. So is there a way that we could both get it at the, like do the same duty, so to speak? So 0, I guess, or 1, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can't do 0, won't do it. It won't do anything. It won't send it to him. So we gotta have something here. So we'll
So
just say
okay,
1 minute after you get it.
That's fine.
Yeah, and then update policy. Yep.
Cool.
So his time is irrelevant because there's no third person. But yeah, whoever is pulled in first, that's all you have to do in update policy. They will automatically get it in real time.
Okay.
Okay, so if we look at your form, did you have questions about the actual form? This is perfect. Yeah, we want it, and this isn't, because it's internal, this isn't
Yeah, I just
as
realized
crucial,
yep.
but yeah, but they should be separate, first name and last name.
Yep.
Yeah, and then email, perfect. Yeah, and you're requiring what department it is. This is a radio, perfect. Yep. Yeah, looks good. And you want them to upload. Now, if you want them to upload more than one, then you need more than one file button.
By the way, is that, so now that you mentioned that, is that per document or can I select 3 documents and attach them here?
No, it's one per field.
Okay,
So if you want them to upload, 2 images, then you need 2 of these.
okay, so we should probably have a couple just because we don't know how much they're gonna be sending. Because right now, the one that we have is just one that contains, you can upload as many as you want. It just says drop your files and you can select 5 at a time and it knows to attach them all. Because we don't know how many they're going to be attaching, we probably have to have at least 4 or something in case they want to upload more than one.
Yeah. Yeah, then you'll just see how many it'll take. Yeah, that's too many. When it starts to do that, we want to split it to something else. So
I mean,
yeah.
3 is probably fine. But 4, I would probably leave it at 4 just in case. If somebody's
Mhm.
having a problem, they know to reach out to us. It's not a big deal, but good to know.
Right. And then just be sure and click save. So you can go in there and edit that, to match the other ones, but. Yep, perfect. That's such a good idea.
And then honestly, other than forms, I don't have any other questions myself. My final question so far would be, how do we differentiate internal versus external forms? And how do we make sure that internal forms are not available to the public's view?
Okay, so, your form, the only way it's gonna be on the website and available to the public is if you linked or embedded it on the site. So if you don't link or embed this form onto the site, it's just gonna stay in here, and the only ones that see it are the users in this app.
So the user will never they will never be able to click on a portal that says, here's a list of all of our forms.
Well, you could rename it. You could say website changes request and dash internal. And then they'd all say, or put the word internal first, internal dash website change, so that all the internal forms show up under and you know what I'm saying?
Right, but what I mean
Or-
is the citizen will never hit this URL, even accidentally, for example. There's no way that they could ever see this.
No, they cannot see anything in here. They're not seeing anything in here until you literally take it over to the site and link it onto the site.
Awesome, all right. Sounds
Yeah. And you can also tell by department. So if you're, you could name your department web team dash internal or whatever, and you can tell by department what forms are internal only. If it's, if the web team is only an internal department, then right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we just name it differently or just keep them all in one department and that department's all internal forms. Whichever works out better.
Cool.
All righty, we ready to go over to the Bookables?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so this won't take long. So the first, actually I need to go to revise again because there's nothing here. Okay, so the Bookables. So the first thing it's going to ask you to do is create a new. When it says create new, I want you to create a group. So, basically, this is kind of like appointments, right? So you would create your group called appointments or whatever you want to name it. I'm going to use conference rooms because I know it has a lot of stuff here. So I'm going to create my group called conference rooms. Let me go back here. Okay, so it's going to look like this when I click create new. So I'm going to call it, appointments or whatever you want to name it. And then the department that it lives in. So you'll create your, what would you say, human services department first on the form side. And then you'll pick human services department.
Okay.
And then the ending for this is already here. So this last word, you just put the same word here, just put appointments or whatever. So you have a URL. And then click submit. And then once you've created your group, then you're going to be able to click on it. And then now you create the individual appointment bookings or whatever.
Okay.
So when you click create, it's the same view here. So you have 4 different things you need to do for each one. You need to describe the bookable item. So appointments dash, I don't know what you want to call it.
Right.
If there are different types of appointments. Again, the same name right here. Put any description you want here. You can put links, you can put images, bold, bullets. Then you have to pick your form that this is tied to. Remember, we talked about the
Right.
form being tied to a bookable or not?
Yep.
So if you don't see your form here, or there's none here, it's one of two things. Either the form doesn't even exist, so you've got to go back to forms and create it first, or it exists. You said, I know I created that form. Why is it not showing up here? It will not show up here until it's made active.
Right.
So you have to make the form active, even though you're not going to link and embed it, maybe like that, if it's that web application, of course, that has nothing to do with Bookables, but you have to make it active for it to show up here. So you pick your form that you're going to use, and then click save.
Okay.
And then you upload your images. When I first pulled up that grouping of conference rooms, you saw those images on the left. So you
Mhm.
can have an image there if you want, just drag it in here. And then you want to define your availability. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So depending on the increments. So is it every 2 hours that the appointments are going to be available, or is it by days or by minutes? Maybe it's 90 minutes. You have to determine that. Booking limit, meaning just one person can book this time slot at a time, which I'm assuming that's the case, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If this was like a gym and you're allowing 10 people in there, but these are 10 people that don't even know each other, but they can all come in tomorrow at 12 o'clock, then this booking limit would be 10, so that 10 different individuals can book it at that exact time, and then it'll stop the booking availability. But for the most part, yours are gonna be one.
Gotcha.
So is this, and are you allowing them to just pick one date? They can only pick one date, or they can pick multiple dates to
I
reserve?
don't
So
know
that
the
would
answer
depend
to
on,
that, but I would say single just to make it easy.
yeah. Yeah, either way, we'll just determine that. And then, is this just for the next 10 days? Is this till not from now till December 31st? Is this indefinitely? Determine that. And then you determine your availability. You click on the date, and then you can enable the bookings, and you can set intervals. So, okay, the first appointment is from 9 to 10, and then we need a break. So the next one's from 12 to 1, add interval, etc. And then
Okay.
apply it to this date only, or only Thursdays, or maybe every day of the week, and then apply. So either what, however you need to do that,
Okay.
and then save that. And then is there any pricing associated with this?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this would just be 0. So do any of your forms have any pricing?
I don't think
I
we
don't
take
think so.
payment over any of our forms, no.
Okay, so we don't have to talk about any of that. Okay, so this would just be 0. So yeah. So then once you create your bookables, then you can look at the bookings and you'll be able to see, oh shoot, I don't have anything here, darn. We had stuff here before. Maybe there's stuff in the past. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it'll show a list of bookings here. It'll show your
Okay.
list of who's booked what when, and then you can click on it, open it up for more detail.
Just a quick question on that, or
Mhm.
like selecting a single day versus a range.
Mhm.
If you could click the range, can they pick, like, I want to do every Monday in that month?
Yeah, they could pick multiple dates.
Okay, so it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like, I'm gonna pick the 5th through the 8th. It can be, I'm gonna pick the 5th, the
Individually.
10th, and the 15th or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, when this is going to be available for the public, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so once you do have your bookings done, so this is gonna say, appointments or whatever your group's called. Here's all your options, and they say, okay, I want this one. I want this appointment with this person or whoever it is. And then they can click on view, and they can say, okay, I want it for the 16th at 3 p.m. and confirm, and then it takes them to the form.
Gotcha.
And they fill out the form. Now, to get this link on the site, you want to go back to your Bookables and go to your group that you want to put on the site, so the appointment group. And you don't want to copy this URL because it's just going to ask them to log into this app. So you click on view, and then this URL is what you take over to the site. So say you had a page about the appointments. If you'd like to make an appointment, or look at the calendar, click here. And you're gonna right click, paste this link, and they're gonna open up to this page. And they're gonna say, I want to book this conference room, etc.
Okay.
Cool. That's pretty easy.
I guess my final question that I would have is regarding to the roles. So we can use that Bookables as a specific example, and we can also tie it in with the other forums. So only a handful of people, meaning the web team, will have admin capabilities to everything, the forms, the website in general.
Mhm.
We don't anticipate giving any users admin abilities to be able to create their forms, edit their forms. The only thing that we would require from them, which I'm going to assume that that user's role is sufficient for, is here's the email that you just got because somebody submitted a form for turning on their water services. Somebody gets it. Usually that somebody is 50 people, unfortunately, because there's a lot of people on that team. Whoever is available clicks on it, views the form, takes the information, and moves on. They don't have to have the ability to edit that form. If there's something wrong with it, they will reach out to us and we will fix it. They don't have to be able to delete it, copy it, none of those things. All they have to do is have access to the reports. Should they want to go back and say, hey, I forgot to do this application, I want to go back here. Just basically view rights of being
So
able
they're not
to.
responding to the form?
They can. I don't
They
mind if
can respond to the form?
Yeah, I don't, if that's in, I don't know how their processes work, so that might be something that they do separately, but if they want to use the system moving forward to communicate with the customer, I would like to give them that opportunity. That's not a problem with us. I just want to make sure that they don't have abilities to touch and break anything.
Okay, so as a user, the role user, they'll be able, and then you assign them to only that department.
Yeah.
Or create a different department with only that form in it, if you only want them to be able to do one form. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If HR department has 10 forms, but you don't want everybody to look at all 10 of those forms, you've got somebody you only want to be able to look at one form, then you'd have to create another HR department dash name of the form, and then they would only be assigned to that department. Okay. So,
right. Yeah, that wouldn't really happen. So like, and I'll use our utilities department, for example. The ideal situation would be under departments, you would create utility services, for example. You would have their 15 forms that they would have on there. I don't know how many they have. And let's say that in that department, there's 20 users that need access. All those 20 users are okay to look through all those forms that are in there.
okay. So a user is going to be able to, the user role, they're going to be able to, they're going to be able to respond to the forms, but they can't create any. If you don't want them to respond either, if you just want them to look at information, then you want them as a guest and they can't
No, I
respond.
definitely don't mind if they respond.
Yeah, that would be a user.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Perfect. That is all I have.
Any questions about anything at all?
I don't think so. I think that's good. That's got it. Seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anna, are you okay? You got questions?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'll
Yeah.
probably go back and watch this again, but
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too,
just for
but
my-
yeah, good training. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, good. I will send this, when the training comes through, I'll send it as a link on this ticket right here.
Cool.
The,
Awesome.
recording, yeah. But you guys can call me anytime on this direct line. I know, in the middle of building something, you got a question or whatever, you can call me anytime or message me in the portal here.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you so
You're-
much. That was really
You're
helpful.
welcome. All right,
Thank
you guys
you.
have a great rest of your week.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank-
Take care.
Bye-bye.